Issue 16, Combat Patrol. 2 new paints and all the lore you could ever want on the Ultramarines. Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and today we're going to be looking at issue 16 of our continuing series of Hachette collections, Warhammer 40K Combat Patrol. Now this is another paint issue. It comes with a base paint of a Mephiston Red and a layer paint of Squig Orange, which is a paint I haven't used before, but Mephiston Red is a good, solid, reliable one. Of course, with all paint issues, it's because there's no build guide, you get to have a little bit more room for lore. So again, it's just showing you how to use your new paint. So of course you can use Mephiston Red for the cape of your librarian and your captain. It also, there's a little sheet here, of course, talking about that because the normal release issue came on Christmas Day. It would have affected the newsagent aspect. So if you're a subscriber, this is not going to apply to you, but that they were going to skip a week. You have here as well, just again, more aspects for use for Mephiston Red, that you can kind of put it onto the eyes of your Terminators, things like that. And the Squig Orange, of course, would be used on the Tyranids, so it gives a kind of a nice little fleshy alternative look to some of the guns and wings and things like that. There's a little bit of lore here on the Ultramarines. Now, the Ultramarines would be the chapter I normally play. They would be the poster boys of the Games Workshop line. There's a couple of reasons for it. One is a lore reason in the sense that they're the most, after a big huge civil war, they were the most popular Space Marines, so they're the ones that were damaged the least, but also the color blue looks good. So it could also have been a kind of an aesthetic and business choice that they just went with the Ultramarines, because the color blue and gold looks good, stands out a little better than, like, say, yellow for the Imperial Fists, or dark green for the Dark Angels, or black and white for the Black Templars, things like that. So there's a kind of there's a business kind of lore-friendly decision to them as well, and because they're not too excessive, they'd be kind of the consummate professionals of the entire 40K Imperium. So people will probably start with an Ultramarine or start with a standard Space Marine, and then as they get to know the lore, the really rich, deep, beautiful and incredible lore of the 40K universe, they might deviate into a different Space Marine chapter. Friends of mine, for example, have gone towards the Salamanders. My plan with some of these models is to turn them into some of the Blood Ravens from the Dawn of War computer games. Other friends of mine have gone for the Dark Angels, and one very brave friend has gone for the White Scars, which is, of course, a very difficult army to paint with it being all white. You have here some aspects, of course, with the Rebute Guilliman. So all of the Space Marine chapters would have had legions would have had a leader. Most of them have died or disappeared, with the exception of two, excuse me. The first one, however, to return was Rebute Guilliman, who has a very kind of, he's a kind of a Roman legionary Caesar type of vibe to him, but of all the Primarchs is the most kind of common sense and most, not to say the most benign, but if you had to live under one of the Primarchs, he's certainly one of the better ones. A shrewd tactician, a shrewd negotiator, very level-headed, a very, very safe pair of hands, so it just focuses a little bit on him. You have a little bit of lore, so part 4 of one of the stories that you get in the magazine, and a nice little focus here on Hive Fleet Leviathan. Now, Hive Fleet Leviathan, I think, is the biggest Tyranid Hive Fleet that has come forward so far, that even by the standard of other Hive Fleets, this thing is big. It's, of course, as you can see here, it's the first among fleets that some of the tendrils that it has, so a Hive Fleet is kind of like one big huge tendril, but it has other tendrils that would come out of it to kind of latch onto certain planets into kind of a pincer move, that those tendrils are so big that they're nearly the size of other Hive Fleets that they had before it. So Leviathan is quite literally the biggest, most dangerous threat to the 40K Empire that stands. So, of course, they're all aiming for one thing, the Segments Installer and Terra itself. So Tyranids like Psykers, and the biggest, bestest Psyker in the entire universe, of course, is the Emperor, who sits at the Golden Throne on Earth, or Terra. You have here some more special abilities, how to play, things like that, but it's also using your new Psychophage, which you got in the last issue, and of course the mission this time is called the Psyker Eater. So it'd be a bit of fun to kind of have and use your Psychophage from the last one, especially now that you have a chaplain who is a librarian who's a big Psyker and a big Psyker Eater. So that was issue 16 of Combat Patrol. Issue 17 and 18 will come with Termagant and Ripper Swarm, so we'll do these two issues together. However, that is the issue itself. These are the actual paints. Now, Mephiston Red, again, is a nice bright red. It's a very good base red, but if you wanted to kind of highlight it up a little bit more, you would use a paint called Evil Sun Scarlet or Wild Rider Red. But again, a very good solid base. It's slightly brighter than Corn Red, slightly brighter than Screamer Pink, but again, a good paint for capes. Squig Orange is not one I have used that much before, but as you can see from the magazine, it's one that'll be very good for your Tyranids. However, be warned that this is a layer paint, whereas this is a base paint. This will go on a lot easier than this one will. It's just a little bit watery, a little bit thinner. So you might need 1 or 2 extra layers of this as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 solid layers of this. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was issue 16 of Hachette Collections Combat Patrol. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, this is Sean, signing off.